Let's talk intensity today with lifting, because once your ovaries start to go offline, we don't get the courtesy of that satellite cell receptor saying, oh, you want me to grow or keep the muscle mass? We no longer have that. So we've got to super compensate by making sure that our lifting intensity is very challenging. And there's ways to measure that are not just like, that felt hard, but actually watching back your videos and looking for certain cues or signals of proper intensity, as well as estimating your perceived exertion on a scale that has descriptors and helpful ways to determine whether or not it's enough. Because the last thing we want is for you to spend lots of time lifting and not getting very much out of it at all. So today we're going to break it down so you can start working on building your intensity up, building your tolerance, and building your skill to measure that intensity and be ensured that you're working hard enough for it to be effective. In a moment, you're going to see a series of videos that will show people squatting and demonstrating varying intensities from lowest to the highest, overlaid with a numerical scale that also includes descriptors and also a list of visual cues that you can watch for while you're watching your video playbacks and what is optimal and required for menopause bodies to be able to build and get benefit from their strength training. Here we go. This scale asks us two questions. We're going to focus on the one that asks, on a scale from 1 to 10, how hard is the work? Your primary lifts will be assigned an RPE, or rate of perceived exertion, that you will be asked to meet. Typically, that is the zone of the yellow and orange, or 7.5 to 9. Keep in mind that we will all spend time in the blue zone occasionally. If you're new to strength training, it's a great place to safely begin. And each time you learn to use a new tool or a new lift, you will begin working in that zone of training. And as your skills progress, you will be able to advance your intensity. Let's lay this over some video so you can see what it looks like in action. Here's an RPE 3 to 5. I can tell because I know I can do at least 10 more reps with this weight. I'm moving fairly quickly through the reps. There's no decrease in speed as I move from rep to rep. And I'm taking very little time to prepare for each rep. Here's a slightly higher RPE with someone learning a new skill. The pace of her movement within each squat is consistent, but she's moving with more intention and she's building more tension before each rep. She's not just banging them out. She can likely do 3 to 5 more reps after this final. We're into the yellow zone, RPE 7.5 here. Biggest takeaway is that her final rep is slightly slower than the rest, and that's a really good sign that we're really close to the RPE 8, which is going to be shown here. As you can see, the other thing that can happen as you move into the RPE 8 zone,
one more,
is
lots of lateral tension.
Just a little bit.
Pull that bar in
illuminates
tight.
things that
Pull
your body likes
to the bar.
to do instead of the quote unquote right thing, and that's okay. It's not going to hurt you. It's just a sign, just another cue that we're in the right zone. Here is a solid 8, 8.5. You can tell because each rep is slowing down just a little bit already in a certain spot. And the final rep here is even slower. Here's Jenny again demonstrating a really high 8.5 or a 9. Just grinding through that sticky midpoint and making the lift. And one more demo of a 10 that didn't go well, so it actually doesn't come back up.
Reviewing, we are looking for
that's
an
what
RPE
it will look like. Red face.
out of 10 most of the time, unless it's prescribed otherwise, or you're learning a new movement, or you're just starting to strength train. That means 2 reps in reserve, meaning if you had to do more reps than was written, and you could grind them out, you could just get 2, you think. You also want to make it feel like it's very challenging. Very challenging is the rating at an 8. And finally, if you record yourself, which I highly recommend, you can learn a lot by watching yourself lift. You can see that between your first and last rep, the speed of your movement, especially the concentric, especially like when you're standing up on your squat or when you're pressing away with your push-up or your bench press, is slowing down on your last rep or 2. Those are great clues that you are working at an appropriate and optimal workload. We don't want to go maximal or just below maximal all the time because it's super fatiguing. We can build some muscle maybe, but it really wears people down and it increases your injury risk. And we also don't want to go below that threshold of like 7.5 RPE or like moderately hard. We want to go challenging or very challenging most of the time. So use all those clues and cues. Please experiment with recording yourself. I know it feels awkward at first, but it's so valuable. And see where it takes you.